Hi, my name is Alexis Hodge and I'm here to teach you 6 different watercolor techniques. So first, you'll dip your brush into the water and then into the paint, and then you're going to apply it on a wash here. Water, paint, wash as many times as you need to fill this area. You're going to let that dry because that was all done wet on wet paint. Next, for the dry surface paint, we're going to repeat the same step, dipping the water into the paint, and then put a really nice thin wash on here. We're going to let that dry and come back to it later. Then we're going to move on to water on wet paint. You're going to repeat the step again. You're going to dip your brush into the water and then into the paint. You're going to put a nice thick wash on there, repeating these steps until you've filled your swatch as much as you'd like. Then you're going to clean your brush until your water droplets are completely clear. Then you're going to dip the brush onto the paper or even drop some droplets down onto the paper to get this really nice watercolor effect. The water disperses the paint and it kind of makes this tie-dye looking pattern. It's really beautiful. Next, we're going to do our wet paint and tissue. So you're going to get your paintbrush really wet and then dip it in the paint. Put a nice thick wash on there, repeating those steps over and over again. Then you're going to take your tissue and you're going to just blot in designs on your wet paint. You can also use this to make small little corrections or to brighten a piece on your watercolor painting. Then you're going to let that dry and check out the effects later. So then you're going to wet your brush again, wet the paint, put a nice thick layer on there again, a good wash, repeating the steps until you get the desired darkening colors where you want. Then you're going to take your salt, you're going to take a little pinch of it and sprinkle it onto the page. And where you see the salt, it has soaked up all the paint in that area. So it kind of looks like this, but on a very small level, and it does it more just like tightly because it's absorbing it instead of dispersing it. So then next you're going to do the same thing again, wet, paint, paper, and then you're going to put a really nice thick wash on this one. And while the paint is still wet, you're going to take your plastic wrap and you're going to press it down on there. Let that dry, and then you want to lift it right off when you lift it. And it's going to give you this really beautiful design. Again, these are watercolor techniques: wet on wet, dry surface, water on wet, wet paint and tissue, salt on wet, plastic wrap. So now that we've given our dry surface time to dry, we're going to come back to it. Get the brush wet traditionally again, water, paint, and then you're going to put your design on top there. As you can see, it makes a really nice, like, darker hue of the same color. And then I also took some of my bright green paint and made little accents on there just to show you even the lighter paint will show up on this because you've given the surface time to dry, so it deposits the pigment right on top of the other color. So these are all different techniques that will give you multiple textures on your watercolor surface when you're doing a watercolor painting. And these will be great to use when you're doing a full-scale painting and you need to make multiple textures to make something look a little more realistic, or even if you're adding effects or designs. These are all different ways to not only use your brush, but to use other materials to create these effects for watercolors. I hope you like this lesson and you like this video. Thank you.